Is training a muscle group more than once a week superior? Yes. We know that total volume is the biggest factor when it comes to hypertrophy. And hypertrophy is just a fancy way of saying muscle growth. However, even when volume is matched, so when it's kept the same between two groups, we see a benefit to training a muscle group more frequently, so twice a week versus just once a week. So splitting up that volume. Why might this be? There's a number of potential reasons, but in my opinion, the two main reasons are: number one, splitting up your training volume allows for more frequent stimulation of that muscle. So on a very basic level, you've told that muscle to grow twice a week instead of once a week. And number two would be that you've probably saturated that muscle protein synthesis response, so the response that tells your muscle to grow, after a couple of hard sets of an exercise on that muscle group. And because you've saturated that response, doing more isn't necessarily going to be better when it comes to hypertrophy. In fact, the extra fatigue may actually impair recovery. For example, if you do bench, flies and dips for chest, that is probably enough to maximally stimulate your muscle protein synthesis response. That is assuming that you lift heavy enough to get close to or muscular failure. Little side note, this factor is important so that you stimulate as many muscle fibers as possible. Back to my point. So if you then do pec deck, incline press, decline press, high cables, low cables, some Bosu ball bullshit, you get my point. The rest of these exercises are just sort of fluff and probably don't add much in terms of a hypertrophy response to your training. Although it's fun to get a big pump on and to feel that muscular fatigue sometimes, if you're crazy like I am, it probably doesn't add very much and may potentially impair recovery. Training a muscle group 3 times a week may be even more superior than training it twice a week, as long as you are getting the sweet spot between splitting up your volume and getting enough volume in each session to maximally stimulate your hypertrophy response. And on a practical level, increasing your training frequency of a muscle group probably will increase your total volume over the week, which will also help with a hypertrophy response. So how big your muscles are going to grow. Now, you may be thinking, but ex-bodybuilder only trains a muscle group once a week. Well, ex-bodybuilder who's maybe taking assistance, shall we say, can probably get away with quite a lot. And by that I mean they can do a lot suboptimally and still get good results, due to the often insane amount of anabolic hormones they have flying around their bodies. In fact, people who take steroids can increase their muscle mass without doing any training. So do what you will with that. If you are looking to increase your training frequency, good splits are push-pull legs, or upper-lower rest, upper-lower, or full body workouts. There's loads of ways you can split up your training. And if you want any help with this, just ping me a message.